I'm Gloria Strode, and welcome to Straightforward. Today, I am visiting with my awesome friend, the one and only Dr. Charolette Michelle Sanchez. With all of those names. You keep telling me that's too many names.
No, there's a reason why I use them too, so you're
right,
okay.
Because people know you from different places.
Right.
They might know you as Dr. Charolette Sanchez on
Right.
your professional side.
Actually,
those know you more intimately might know you as Michelle.
True.
Because when I first met you, it was Michelle.
Right.
But yes. I gave you Dr. Charolette Michelle, which is your Hollywood name. But anyway, today I just wanted to, and thank you for taking time from your busy practice to have this conversation. Mm-hmm. But this is something I've experienced myself. We're at the change of the season, and we're moving into the fall, which includes holidays. Mm-hmm. Depression is real.
Yes, it is.
And as the seasons change, I have this feeling of loss. Of course, you know, my parents have both passed away and my sibling. But it's something when we start moving toward Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, all of those things just pulls that heartstring and then that grief. And the grief comes in. And it's like when you think you're okay and you've gotten to a good place, then you realize you're not okay.
Right. I think it's good to understand too, as I say, it's okay to not be okay sometimes.
It's okay to not be okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm really glad that you asked me to come talk about this because I can share it because I also have lost both of my parents. As the seasons change, we remember things, especially fall, because fall is close to Christmas and Thanksgiving. And so for me, my mother was a huge holiday person.
Yes, all of the cooking and all of that.
Right. So she was that way too. So very festive. So, you know, I would find myself sometimes going into the grocery store at Thanksgiving, and I can't emulate everything she did because she was a tremendous cook and I'm not that. And when she passed away, it's like that season, those memories were there, but I didn't have the presence anymore.
Exactly.
And it was so hard because I would go through the shopping center or I'd go to the grocery store and I would find myself with emotion that I would tear up while I was watching other people shop.
Yes.
And then I would tear up because I'm buying a box cake and it's not from scratch. Like my mother made.
Always. Exactly.
And the intensity of the feeling that I felt in that season was so overwhelming.
Really? And then you wonder. And then you wonder, it's like, am I having a breakdown or what?
Right. Is this normal that I should feel that I can't control these tears? I'm going to the checkout and I got to figure out how to pull myself together. You know, we have to get to a place where, like I said, it's okay not to be okay, but that we also recognize that we don't have to be the same as our parents, that we can make new seasons and we can make new traditions. And I think that's what happens a lot of times. We get stuck in that depressed mode because those traditions that we had with people that are gone, they're gone. They're still in our memory, but we have to promote new traditions so that we can be fond of those memories, but be happy in the present moment.
Be fond of those memories, but be happy in the present moment.
Right.
That's deep.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done.
It is easier said than done. And I will tell you, it takes time. In mental health, we talk about how you train yourself to think. And I'll give you an example. I had a friend whose mother passed away, a very good friend of mine. And every year at a certain time, and it was seasonal, she would get depressed for about a week.
Oh, yes.
And she would stay in that depressed mode. And I miss my mother too. We lost our mother around the same circumstances to ovarian cancer. But in my mind, I wanted to help her move past the depressed part of it by the way she was processing her thoughts, as opposed to she's gone. You know, I was at her site, I took flowers, but more celebrate those things that her mother did and try to be in a positive space because that's what they would want you to do.
Right.
Find an activity that you can do. Go for a walk. You know, go shopping. Buy yourself something. Buy yourself something.
Look, that's a dangerous, retail therapy can
Right.
really be dangerous. But you
buy-
gotta have some self-control.
Yeah, something that, buy yourself something
Even if it's
small.
to have a cup of coffee or
Yes.
something.
Even if you go buy yourself your own flowers, even if you go buy some new lipstick or buy something for someone else. But what you have to do when you're in those depressed modes is take yourself out of that space and find an alternate space.
Diversion.
A diversion. You have to find a diversion, because if not, you'll stay there and you won't make right. And that's one of the things that we say about depression. It's a feeling of stuckness, and you have to be the one to make that movement.
And that's how people end up clinically depressed.
Yeah.
Because it goes on day after day, week after week, and they can't move away from sometimes the loss and the grief.
Exactly.
And sometimes we just keep reliving it.
That's right.
And that's not healthy.
Right.
And then when you're sharing a space with other family members, your spouse or your significant other, it impacts them.
It does.
If you're stuck.
It does. And that is why seeing a therapist is so important. I tell people all the time when they come to see me, you can share your depression or your sadness or your feelings of hopelessness with a good friend. You can share that with your family member. You can share that with even your pet. But at some point, they don't know how to consume it. They don't know how to help you. So when you go to a trained person, they are there to let you repeat the story and walk you through it. They're there to let you vent. But people that want to help you don't always know how to help you. And then they become overwhelmed.
That's right. Or they feel, as some family members said once, I don't want people dumping on me. And they didn't see it as the person trusted them to share. Because you can't share everything with everybody.
You can't.
But they saw it as someone dumping on them.
Right.
So,
That's exactly
and those are some of the things, especially in the African American community, we have to start speaking openly about. Therapy is okay, even if you're praying. We do believe in God, and we know that God can do a lot of things, but He has provided individuals like you with the skills and the intellect to help us through those periods. No, really, because once upon a time, and I want to talk about that, in our next segment, where, it's frowned upon. It was like, okay, you got to pray about everything. Well, for me, faith without works is dead. We're going to pray about it, but we need to do something about it.
And it's a dimension. It's a dimension of that total experience of thinking positively. A strong dimension is the spiritual side, but there's other components to
that. Okay. Well, what we're going to do is go to our first break to our sponsor, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors.
Straightforward is brought to you by State Senator Ed Harbison, serving the citizens of Georgia's 15th Senatorial District and on the front lines for veterans every day. Progressive Funeral Home, family owned and operated since 1952. The George Ford legacy of high standards continues today in the compassionate and professional services provided. A touch of dignity for those who care. Progressive Funeral Home, 4235 St. Mary's Road, trusted by generations. Charmaine K. Crabb at RE/MAX Champions Realty, 4800 Armour Road. As an associate broker of residential sales and property management, Charmaine takes your business personally. It's not about finding a dream home, but finding a home that is perfect for you. Call Team Crabb today at 706-392-6116.
And welcome back to Straightforward. I'm continuing this great conversation with my awesome friend, Dr. Charolette Michelle Sanchez. I want us to talk about why in the African American community, therapy is something that people whispered about or discouraged. Especially if you are a person of faith and you attend church regularly and all of that. Growing up, we were like trained. You just pray about it and you wait for the Lord. I am a person of faith. I know we walk by faith and not by sight. But sometimes with depression, there might be a chemical imbalance. There might be a whole lot of things, especially even like when women have hysterectomies,
Yes.
or they have postpartum depression.
Right, absolutely.
All of those are things that you can't pray your way through.
Right,
And
that's
then
true.
it leads to sometimes tragedy. We
That's
learn
true.
about women had babies and then all of a sudden they killed a baby. We don't want
That's
any of
true.
that. And we know that certain times of the year, suicide is very high. So those are the hard conversations sometimes that are not had in our community when they should be.
That's true. And I will say it's getting better now that it's more visible, and now that media encourages it and people are talking about it more. But you're right. For years in different cultures, it was better to keep the secrets in the house. We don't want other people to know.
Secrets can be dangerous.
Very dangerous. And people didn't want certain cultures didn't want other people to know their business.
Right. Whatever happens in our house stays in our house.
And then, as you say, a lot of times also in our culture, you pray about it. It'll go away. We're all praying for you. And it's not to minimize that, but it's important to think about it as the total person. You need to have your physical side, your mental side, your spiritual side, and then your side for survival, the survival things that you need to eat, to sleep, water. So you need all these things, and spiritual is great when you have that, where you can go and find that peace. But there are people, like you said, that may have a genetic component for depression, may be chemical, it may be situational, and then it turns to internal systems. Medicines can sometimes create depression.
Oh, I know, because when you hear the commercials, it'll say all of those things, side effects at the end. Or it might make you suicidal.
Right.
And it's treating you for some other ailment. And I'm like, so why would I take that?
Right. So that's why if you're taking it, you have to take it under, the guise of a professional, a physician. And so you can't just always say, I'm praying this away. As I said, there's components, the physical, the mental, and situational things that happen. So it's very important to have that peace when you have the spiritual side, but everybody doesn't need medication, but some people do. Having a therapist is another part of the dimension, spiritual, perhaps medication, your therapist and your talk therapy, and different interventions. So you have to look at life as a holistic thing,
right?
And all those different
and
components.
It's not a one-size-fits-all.
Right, it definitely isn't.
And
I'm glad you said that, because depression looks like so many different things,
right,
depending on who the person is and what the person is going through. Because depression can be irritability, it can be anger, it can be
not sleeping at night, or sleeping too much.
That's right.
That's
Absolutely.
a sign of it. And then we think about people like the comedians, Robin Williams.
Right.
And people are like, he was this happiest guy. I mean, I liked him. Right. Mrs. Doubtfire and all of that. And,
I did too.
All of those great movies. And then he took his own life.
And it seems like to other people that this just happened all of a sudden, when this person has been struggling with these issues for years sometimes, but they are able to mask it behind the facade of being happy or behind the facade of comedy. And so that's why it is so important to not keep the secrets, but let someone know and reach out so someone can help you. If you don't feel comfortable enough reaching out to a therapist, find a friend or someone that can help you reach that therapist.
A confidant.
Yes.
And not someone that whatever you share, they're eagerly going to share it with their significant other or someone who's not your friend, that's their best friend. So you have to be really careful, because then you don't want something that you share to end up, in the public.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because that's one of the first things I say when I start therapy. It's good that you took the initiative to come, because you can tell other people. You can think you have a best friend that you want to tell, but your best friend has another best friend that has another best friend. So when you make that choice to go to a therapist, you're in the confines of that therapist's office. It's confidential, and you should be able to say anything and everything without judgment with that person.
Without judgment. It's a safe place.
That's right. It's a safe place.
And by law,
you have to
protect.
We are ethics bound to keep it confidential, And, you know, most therapists, and I speak for myself, I want that person to come in, and I'm proud of them when they have come in to seek that help. And, you know, it not only do I want to lift them, but seeing them lifts me also.
Right. Then that says you've been effective.
Right.
That you did what you were supposed to do to help them navigate.
Right.
Right. And so I know you work with a lot of families and children, a lot of folks that's going through divorce. No, you know, a
You're
lot
right,
of women
it's wrong.
and children, because that is a traumatic event. As someone said to me once, it's like a death, because it's the death of a family relationship. Not necessarily like losing your parent or your sibling, but it is. And then just learning how to navigate in the family unit. That's right. After it has been disassembled, I would say, as from a traditional family.
That's a good way to put it. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it is a sort of a disassembling, but the most important thing for families to remember, particularly parents, that as they go through the stressors of all of that, their children are in the middle.
Exactly.
And if you have a less than amicable separation and divorce, the trauma that is felt, that the parents think they're feeling when they're arguing with each other, is compounded. What I see in my office when I see the children is
they're
so
caught in the
sad.
middle.
And it's so sad, and people don't realize how much that is internalized and how much that grows in that child as they become an adult and have to try to process what happened to them in childhood through this assimilation that went on with their parents.
Right. And then that spills over into their adult relationships.
It does,
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So what we're going to do is take another break on our sponsors, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors.
Carter Counseling Services in the White House at the Elms, 1846 Buena Vista Road, providing services to enhance the quality of life for clients by promoting healthy, stable interactions within relationships, counseling support to assist individuals in positive personal growth. Call Mr. Carter today at 706-570-8698. The Miley Agency, 4903 Armour Road. Gerald L. Miley and William Ripsinger have been providing comprehensive reviews and insuring families in Georgia and Alabama for more than 50 years. The Miley Agency will work non-stop to find you the best policy at the best price. You can rest assured that your information is secure, confidential, and protected. Call today at 706-996-2045. The Columbus Memory Center, 7196 North Lake Drive, Suite A, Columbus. Dr. Jonathan Liss is a board-certified neurologist and sleep specialist committed to battling Alzheimer's by preserving independence, offering you the opportunity to get your memory number for free, the only vital sign for brain health. Call today at 706-327-4000 or visit columbusmemorycenter.com. Roz Cafe and Catering Services. Choose Roz as your personal chef, knowing every dish is prepared with attention to the finest details and extra care. She will make your next event one to remember with 2 convenient locations to serve you: 390 Batzel Avenue, Fort Benning, and 3418 Buena Vista Road. Visit rozcafe.com.
Welcome back to Straightforward. I'm continuing this important conversation with the awesome Dr. Charolette Michelle Sanchez. I know that you're a great therapist. You had a great career working with our children in the public schools. I know how you went beyond the call of duty, trying to make sure that they had support in some very difficult situations, just dealing with the home life. And I remember, because you're a part of our team of the ladies' room, you made a comment once that your mother, when you told your mother you were depressed as a child, sometimes as parents, and she was like, you're not old enough to be depressed.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes as parents, we miss that.
Yes.
And I just wanted you to kind of touch on that in this segment, because when we have children, or parents have children that have taken their own life, we ignored the signs. Now, I thank God I've never had that. You've never had it. but I do know people
Right.
that has happened, and they're like, how did you miss it?
Yeah, and when I grew up as a child, and I did have a really good childhood, and I had one of those moments where something happened with a friend, and
Oh, yeah.
and I was sad.
Thought it was the end of the world.
Right.
Right. Broke up with a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Right.
And so my mom said, you're too young to be depressed. You don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered that, maybe that's why subconsciously I became a therapist.
Right.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I remembered that, and it always stuck with me because my feelings, whatever they were at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
they were real.
Yes.
And I think the bigger thing these days is that because of the world that we live in,
Mm-hmm.
we have to pay attention to the signs with our children. The world we live in, with social media, of course,
Oh, yes.
with the recent situation with the pandemic, with COVID, and the isolation that children felt when they couldn't go to school and
I
got
couldn't interact with
disconnected.
their friends.
Exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm.
When you turn on the news and all you see is a tragedy where a school where there were children that were, gotten hurt at the school, shot by some unknown assailant out of nowhere, that creates such anxiety and stress. And then when you also think about the political stress in our society and just civil unrest, our children consume all of that.
Right.
They hear it, they see it. The youngest child knows that things are, there's
Well, they can
turbulence.
tell when adults don't get along.
They can.
If
And
they, right,
yes.
in the world and at home.
And at home.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is so critically important to listen to your children,
Mm-hmm.
to watch for patterns that change, to see if they become distant, to watch and see if they're irritable or don't want to come out of their room, or
No
aggressive.
longer eating.
No longer eating.
Changing
sometimes
the type
eating
of clothes,
too much.
not taking a bath.
Yes.
Right.
Those are acute signs to see. So you have to be in tune. You have to engage. You have to talk to your children. You have to. Every day I come home, I ask my husband, "How was your day?" I take a time out. Then he asks me how my day was. You have to do that with your family members. You have to do that with your children. You have to do that with your friends. You have to notice when people's behavior change, and you have to reach out to them.
Right. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's inconvenient. If you notice, and every time I see you're magazine ready, but if I run into you somewhere and you look disheveled, that's going to be a sign for me that something has happened.
Yeah, and that's important what you just said, because I don't remember where I heard it, but I remember somewhere somebody said sometimes people will walk past and they'll say, "Hi, how are you?" But before the person can say how they are, the person's gone. So did you really want to know how that person was when you said, "How are you?" So when you say, "Hi, how are you? How are you doing?" Stop and see what that person says to you, because that might be the only,
Be present.
you may be the only person. Sometimes you could be that last person that could stop that person from being in a mood or doing something by listening. When you ask them, "How are they?" mean it and stop and listen. So if they need you, then you're there.
Right. And if someone reaches out to you and they are trying to share, sometimes you might be busy. And I had a friend, that sister passed away, and it was her younger sister. My sister passed away, and it was my older sister, one of them, but I was like devastated. But I had a friend that reached out to me, wrote me a letter, and she was like, "Well, people are emailing and texting," which she did all of that, called me, everything. She said, "But I'm going to write you this letter, send it through the mail, so when you have that feeling of grief, I want you to read it." Well, then I had a friend, and her baby sister passed away. And it was very, very difficult because she was still processing that it was her baby sister, and it might not be the most convenient time for you, but you have to, if you care about the people in your circle. Sometimes you just have to be a little inconvenient, and listen.
And that brings something else to mind. If someone calls you and you're going to take the time to answer the phone, hear what they have to say before you say, "Let me call you right back."
All right.
I had a situation where someone very close to me called me, and I had just woken up, and I said, "Let me call you right back," before she was able to tell me what she wanted to tell me. And she had just found out that her father died.
Right.
And so then I got that message from somebody else before I could call her back, and I was trying to call her back to reach back out to her. And so that kind of gave me a little PTSD, that I want to make sure that I answer it. I want to hear that you're okay first, and then I'll call you right back.
Exactly. And you have to listen actively, not passively. Because sometimes you're talking to people and they're really not listening.
They're not.
It's a difference.
That's true.
So it's like, hear what people are saying
That's
to
true.
you, because it could be more serious than what you realize.
Right.
Well, before we run out of time, I want you to tell people where you are and how they can find you, because you're so fabulous and
You're
so
so sweet.
easy. No, but so easy to talk to. And I've actually typed your name in social media for somebody. It's like, I need to talk to somebody. I'm like, okay, call her. No, really.
That's sweet. Thank
Yeah.
you. So I'm in the corporate center downtown,
Mm-hmm.
off 12th Street and 3rd. My business is community counseling and intervention services, but you can go to sanchezsessions.com. I have a website, and you can find out everything you need to know about setting up an appointment if you need to come in.
Okay, so we're right here in Columbus. They can go to your website, and it's community counseling.
Well, it's community counseling and intervention services is my
Right,
business.
is
but
the business.
SanchezSessions.com
is your
is my-
website.
Yes.
Okay, want to make sure they know all of that. You can't find her on social media. You'll have to. And she is Dr. Charolette Michelle Sanchez. And so just thank you for all you did for our kids in the system. Thank you for what you're doing for families and helping them to navigate through some of the challenges.
My pleasure.
And we will see you next time in the ladies' room.
Oh, I can't wait.
All right?
All right.
This has been straightforward. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Until next time, be blessed.
What up, world? What's up, Columbus? Be sure to tune in every Sunday, Straightforward with Gloria Strode, right here on NBC 38.
Hi, I'm Dr. Charolette Michelle Sanchez. Join us on Sunday mornings at 7:30 on NBC 38 with Gloria